Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Faisel Sayed,
And I'm Dr. Dan McCarter.
and you're listening to Faisel and Friends, where we believe access to primary care is a right, not a privilege. Today, we're talking to Dr. Naomi Jean-Baptiste from Hope4Med about Hope for Healthcare. Let's dive right in. Hey, Dr. Dan.
Hey, Basil.
How are you doing?
Good.
Welcome, Dr. Naomi Jean-Baptiste.
That's correct.
Very, very nice to meet you.
It's a French last name, and it's, if you wanted to sound French, it would be Naomi Jean-Baptiste.
Naomi Jean-Baptiste.
Yes. But I find that my patients sometimes have difficulty saying my name, and they will say it in all sorts of ways, and we'll work at it, and I'll say, you know what? Just call me Dr. JB. And they're like, oh my goodness, yeah, definitely. And so that's how I came up with Dr. JB as my name.
Oh, well, we're so pleased to have you on the show today. I would love to hear your story. I love to hear the journey that physicians make. You know, why you got into emergency medicine, and then the story behind your website and this movement that you're creating.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So my story, I was one of those, I guess, physicians who decided at a young age that they wanted to be a doctor. And granted, I did think about alternative careers, but I always came back to wanting to be a doctor. And I actually wanted to be a pediatrician, actually. And so everything in terms of my essays for medical school revolved around pediatrics until I did my pediatric rotation. And so when I did my peds rotation, I realized that really, for me, in my opinion, to be most effective with kids, I really needed to focus on their parents. Because despite whatever I recommended for the children, unless their parents were empowered to apply my recommendations, the kids wouldn't get it because they don't have their own autonomy because they're so young. And so that's why I transitioned to let's focus on the adults. And so then I went down the path of, I want to do internal medicine. I had a very strong passion for international medicine because I am from Haiti. So I was born in Haiti, grew up in the States. And so I always wanted to be able to give back internationally. And so that was going to be my path. I was going to go internal medicine, probably specialize in infectious diseases, and go on and do great things internationally. Then, when I was a third year in medical school, I went to Duke University Medical School, and during that third year, it's our research year. And so during that year, the earthquake in Haiti occurred. And so, because of that earthquake, that really kind of completely changed my life. And so I determined when I was sitting in front of my TV and watching the National Palace of Haiti destroyed and seeing so much suffering on the camera that I had to get down there. And a week later, I made it down to Haiti. And when I was making that determination, I had no idea how I was going to do it. But it worked out, and I was able to go down to Haiti with this missionary group. And I stayed there for about a week or so, providing aid in this camp that was directly across from National Palace. And so while I was there, I was seeing everything. There was a lot of traumatic injuries, so fractures, infected wounds. But I was seeing a woman who came in congestive heart failure. I saw a newborn, I saw pregnant patients, and I was taking literally care of people or assisting to take care of people. I served as their interpreter, from newborn to elderly. And I remember thinking at that point, what career or specialty in medicine would allow me to provide or to be effective in a humanitarian crisis, would allow me to be able to get up and respond. And as I had conversations with the different healthcare professionals that were working side by side me from all over the country, the idea of emergency medicine came into my mind. And I hadn't thought about emergency medicine until that experience. And third year medical school, that's when you start writing your applications, for residency. And so I was starting to write my statement about why internal medicine. But then when I got back, I changed all of those. I hadn't even done a rotation in the ER, but I like signed up for an elective in the ER, and I changed my application to emergency medicine, and here I am. I'm an ER doc.
Oh my goodness. I love these stories. People often say, "Oh, why do you like the story of doctors? Why do you like doctors starting off?" Well, because we all have a story. The earthquake in Haiti had a profound impact on me as well. I was doing my medicine rotation at the hospital in Santo Domingo that received all the United Nations employees who were injured at the time of that earthquake. And I'll never forget it. People coming from all around the world, all different languages, people being buried underground. Actually, the first helicopter of people who were rescued, none of them survived the helicopter flight.
Wow.
There's some of these moments that you just, you get to see the suffering. It doesn't matter what the language or what the culture is. It's all the same. And yeah, that had a profound impact on me. And it's incredible for me to hear your story. Starting off wanting to become a pediatrician, this horrible tragedy happens, and you're out there on the ground, and then it puts you on your path to becoming an emergency medicine. So now you've become an emergency medicine, and now you're practicing emergency medicine. And what happened?
What happened to launch Hope for Med?
Yes.
So Hope for Med was a long time coming, because we as the healthcare system needed it. And I remember going through residency, and so I did my residency training in New York City. And I remember um, running a code on a patient and trying my best to resuscitate them and being unsuccessful sometimes, more times than not. But and stepping out of that patient's room and being surrounded by seas of patients that needed something from me. One case in particular, I remember I came out of this patient's room after pronouncing the patient dead and trying to mentally prepare to have this conversation with the patient's loved one. And I had this patient walk up to me saying that they needed pain medications. They walked up to me asking for pain medicine, and I just remember thinking, wow, is this my life? Like, really? Like, I don't even have time to process what I just experienced. And here I am having to go ahead and deal with the next patient and the next patient and the next patient or the next code. Um, and then when the day is over, I just want to get out of there. I don't want to stay, and process at that point. I just want to go home and, be in some place where I can relax and just forget about the day so I can sleep and wake up and do it again. And so, and that's how it was in residency, and thinking, oh, okay, when residency is done, it's going to be different as an attending. And it wasn't different as an attending. I still didn't have that outlet. And, do you really want to take that home with you and talk it over with your significant other if you have a significant other? And do they really want to hear it, really? Like who do you talk to about these things? Who do you talk to about your feelings? Who do you release with? And because of that, and because of COVID, right? And so I remember when COVID first started, and seeing all of these patients that were alone, right, in the emergency department. So many of us in the front lines experienced these, right? Our hospitals were overrun with so many patients, and their loved ones were not allowed to be with them. And so it's just our staff and the patients there. And the patients are sick, their oxygen levels are low, we're intubating them, they're dying. We're the last people that they're seeing. before many of them died. And again, there was no opportunity to really process what we experienced because there were so many other people we had to run and see and whatnot. And we're all left to our own means to deal with it. And so, because of that, that was the impetus for Hope for Med's creation.
Wow.
Um, and because in addition to all of those experiences, something that's been ongoing in healthcare for years, even before I was in medicine, was or is this suicide epidemic amongst physicians and other healthcare professionals. And so if we focus on physicians, 300 to 400 physicians die a year. And that's not a new thing. And that was pre COVID. And so, the concern that I had was, well, now we're dealing with COVID and we're surrounded by more death than we've ever experienced. Many of us more suffering than we've ever experienced in our existence. And then what happens? What happens next? And so, because of that, I had this burning desire that I had to launch Hope for Med to really start tackling these feelings of I'm the only person experiencing this, I'm alone in this, I'm alone in my feelings because you're not.